Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am back. I have returned. I am here, and today we are going to be revisiting one of my absolute favorite fights on the internet, and that is the fight that has been going on 4 months between Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore versus the Young Turks. Jimmy Dore versus the world in his mind only, because this fight is absolutely amazing. And it's really one of the best examples I've ever seen on the internet of the chickens really coming home to roost.
So now he got it. So he says, I'm burning my bridges. The truth about progressives in Congress. So he knows they're not going to do this. He knows this is not going to happen, that they're not going to do what they're supposed to, and they're going to let it they're going to vote for a COVID bill without a $15 minimum wage, and they have all the leverage and they're not going to use. So he knows that's happening. By the way, this video could be titled "Really, really 3 months late to the party." And by the way, I did a voice to text. That was literally my reaction.
However, before I delve deep into this fight, as if it is a serious topic, before I examine absolutely every angle of this, and present to you my conclusions from what I'm seeing, which is really just a ruse so we can all laugh at the highlights that I've been clipping out of this back and forth for you guys, we have some very important announcements to go over, and the first is the most obvious. If you look behind me, you will see that there is a Better Discourse 2 event coming up where I'm going to be on a panel talking about policing with Rogan O'Connor, John Doyle, and Riley Grace Rochong, and I definitely recommend that you guys come out to this event. It's in Kenosha, Wisconsin, April 24th. The tickets are available at betterdiscourseevent.com. Link is in the description, especially since I might have mispronounced the website just now, so definitely check the description. Get the tickets, come out, see the panels, even though the panels are a little bit for nerdier people that want to actually come in, listen live, people debating policy and all that stuff. But also, for the cool people out there, there's an after party that's attached, and honestly, I'm not supposed to tell you this. I mean, I'm not restricted from telling you this. It's kind of like a teaser technique I learned in like a 10-minute marketing class, which in reality was me just watching a marketing video for like 5 seconds, that if I say I'm not supposed to tell you something, then you guys are like, ooh, I'm in on the secret, even though it's totally artificial. It's like when people say that they're releasing their merchandise for 3 days only, when they're doing their merchandise on like Teespring or TeePublic, and they print those shirts to order, so there's no reason for a limited drop. That makes no sense. But I digress. The after party is actually, in my opinion, way better than the event itself, because that's where you guys get to hang out with us, you get to meet a bunch of different creators if you like the roster of people there, have drinks, and it's a great time. Like, the panels are great, they're interesting. Sometimes when there's amazing people like me on them, they're absolutely riveting. But other times, it really is about the after party, and I've spent a lot of time with people who watch my videos from all walks of life, and I absolutely love it, and I'd love to see you out there. Unless you're a weird person, then I would like to see you out there, but maybe from a distance. So come out, April 24th, linked in the description. Let's get into the second announcement, which is there's a skeleton over there. Who really cares? Let's get into the video. So Jimmy Dore, for those of you who don't know, looks like this. And Cenk Uygur, for those of you who are unaware, looks like this. And these two have been fighting, and Jimmy Dore used to work at the Young Turks, and the original fight was over Jimmy Dore's plan to force the vote for Medicare for All, where all the progressive Democrats, because they have such a narrow majority in the House of Representatives, would withhold their vote for Speaker of the House unless Nancy Pelosi would promise to force a vote or have a vote on Medicare for All. They're doing the forcing, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Dore pitched this plan, and a lot of progressives thought it made sense because Jimmy Dore is very in line with the underlying false premises that progressives tend to agree with.
Because watch Jimmy Dore today to see the strategy. The Young Turks will suggest 3 months later when it is too late.
However, for some reason, this caused a major divide between people on the progressive left, specifically in the online sphere, because they all agree on the same underlying premises. They all agree that you have to force power and you have to take the government back by force. You have to be strong progressives in order to get what you want. But some progressives sided more with the squad, who were not interested in doing this strategy, and other progressives wanted them to do it because they expect these people to do what they were elected to do. Now, we can talk about whether or not we agree with the policy goals of Jimmy Dore. I personally don't. We can talk about whether or not the idea that most of the American population support Medicare for All is actually true. I definitely would dispute that, and I would point to the same polling data, because what you see in this polling data, as I've talked about in more detail multiple times on this channel, is that what this poll is actually measuring is that most people like the term Medicare for all, but when you go to the more detailed questions, they actually don't know what's in it, and when you ask them about specifics that are necessary to the Medicare for all plan, they reject that plan. I know I breezed over that really quickly, but honestly, I've talked about it so many times on this channel, I don't want this to get boring for people who have been keeping up with the other videos. Links are in the description if you could check it out and you want to see more in detail, and you can also check out the older videos if you're interested in that. But it's really important to note whether or not you agree with the facts related to the underlying issue is irrelevant, because all of the actors in this argument definitely agree to that, and they definitely have professed support for strategies like Jimmy Dore in the past. And this is why Cenk Uygur coming out against Jimmy Dore and attacking him on a personal level was so weird, because Cenk Uygur has been talking about how you don't ask people for help, you don't ask people and say pretty please in the Democratic establishment, you fight for that change and you say, I'm never gonna take that change.
So what's our battle plan for passing the bills if you're a progressive? Keep asking Nancy Pelosi, pretty please? She just told you, I don't care for Medicare for all. Guess what? I don't care for Nancy Pelosi.
And Jimmy Dore is just taking a lesson out of Cenk's playbook and pitching the same strategy, but all of a sudden Cenk is against it. Now, it has been revealed that the reason that Cenk Uygur is against it is something that we can all understand. It's because he has personal ties and relationships with members of the squad who are not interested in doing it. So in a way, Cenk Uygur's entire purpose for starting Justice Democrats has completely inverted. Remember, him and Kyle Kulinski started it so that they could get members of Congress that would do their bidding. But now, Cenk, just like the mainstream media people that he criticizes, is doing the bidding of those representatives. And Jimmy Dore was pointing this out recently, and it's absolutely hilarious.
By the way, in this video, Asha points out that the video sounds like a confession that Cenk was not giving you the truth before because he was trying to protect his access to them. When criticizing access journalism, they were engaged in access journalism, not unlike MSNBC. Well, that's a great point. When he says, I'm burning my bridges, what? You don't burn bridges with politicians. You don't have the f*** are you talking about? You mean you're burning your access to them because you're going to tell the truth finally?
Look, everybody should know my feelings about Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur right now. I've told you many times on this channel, and again, I don't want to recap, rehash, and stay into this that much, but you have to admire the fact that Jimmy Dore made this video an hour long. And a huge portion of the beginning of this video is Jimmy Dore digging up the funniest responses to Cenk Uygur from random people on Twitter that are his followers, saying that Jimmy Dore was right now that Cenk Uygur is coming around to this strategy. It is absolutely hilarious, and the fact that Jimmy Dore gets so much joy in it makes this segment way more enjoyable.
So Cenk puts out this stupid video, which I'm going to play in a second, but then his big idea is this. This is great. You can sign AOC's petition instead of ours to create your own. They're sending a petition to Kamala and Joe Biden to put a petition.
It's great. Strongly worded.
It's a strongly worded petition instead of using the power you actually have. So this is great. Yes. You can sign AOC's petition instead of ours and create your own. But jump in. Let's do this. Vice President is presiding officer of the Senate and has sole authority of what goes in the bill. # Save Us Kamala. How pathetic. Save us, # Save Us Kamala. We're going to do a petition.
That is incredibly embarrassing for multiple different reasons. Look, I've dinged Cenk Uygur multiple times for his childish view on how politics actually work. I talk about how he bases his whole political ideology on shows like The West Wing or Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which coincidentally Jimmy Dore referenced in a thumbnail recently because Jimmy Dore is in a lot of ways cut from the same cloth. But for Cenk Uygur, Mr. Bluster, and I'm gonna fight when I'm running for Congress, and I'm never gonna ask the progressive for change, I'm never gonna say pretty please, to launch a campaign that's literally a petition that says Save Us Kamala, begging Kamala Harris to help him with a parliamentary procedure when the squad is perfectly capable of doing exactly what Jimmy Dore is describing doing, playing hardball, which is what Cenk says he's an advocate for, is embarrassing. This whole entire campaign is shameful for Cenk, and it's not only shameful to look at it from the outside because you're begging Kamala Harris to do some procedural stuff in the Senate to insert something into a bill so it can go back to the House and go through this whole process. But it's even more embarrassing because this is supposed to be the antithesis of what Cenk Uygur's strategy actually is for politics, and he's doing it. He's totally bent the knee to Kamala Harris, somebody that he called a fraudulent progressive.
So there's two theories of change. One is I'll call as pretty please. Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and all the Democratic leadership take tons of money from the drug industry and from the healthcare industry, and they turn around and say, we'll never do Medicare for all. I have a poster of single payer buried in my basement, okay? And so if you ask her pretty please enough times, she'll change her mind. I think that theory is preposterous. Unfortunately, it's held by most of Congress, okay? Now, everyone knows she's not gonna do that. Everyone knows it, but they've submitted, okay? Now, the other theory is you break them. Now, oh my God, you can't say that. That's not civil. No, that's politics, brother.
Well, when push comes to shove, Cenk, I guess you do ask for pretty please. I guess that is your strategy. I guess you're not as much of a fighter as you believe to be. That was Cenk just months ago when he was campaigning for Congress, when he assured us he was the frontrunner, when he raised over $1 million and got 5% of the vote.
AOC has the power to stop this bill and get $15 minimum wage in if they vote as a block with a strategy. If they vote together as a block with a strategy, but you won't even ask them to do it. He's not even asking them to do that. Cenk's not even asking them to do that. He's putting all his focus on Kamala. Kamala, please. Is that how you influence people? You beg politicians to help you? You beg them? Or you demand it?
So there's two theories of change. One is I'll call as pretty please. Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and all the Democratic leadership take tons of money from the drug industry and from the healthcare industry, and they turn around and say, we'll never do Medicare for all. I have a poster of single payer buried in my basement, okay? And so if you ask her pretty please enough times, she'll change her mind. I think that theory is preposterous.
But look, I just thought this was interesting. The Young Turks Twitter handle tweeted this out yesterday. It says the Young Turks host Cenk Uygur is amping up pressure on both Vice President Kamala Harris and Senator Bernie Sanders to continue to fight for a mandatory $15 minimum wage. Hashtag save us Kamala. Hashtag don't kill it Bernie. So he's not going to pressure them or actually start a campaign or try to get other people on it because that would actually take effort. He's just going to tweet. They're going to tweet this out and look at from their own Twitter. Oh, you can't see it. I think it might get cut off. So that was up yesterday. We just captured this before we came into the studio. They tweeted that out yesterday. 25 likes. So my question was, who buys this? 25 people. That's it.
Now Cenk is begging Kamala Harris, the establishment, to save them from not having a $15 minimum wage.
I'll tell you what's the reality about progressives in Congress. So let me be clear. They do not have bad intent. They all mean well. They all want the $15 minimum wage passed. They want Medicare for all passed. They want Green New Deal passed. They want all of that.
Yeah, all right. They're all good people. I still want them to grant me interviews. I'm telling you, they're good people. They just won't do the jobs while you're starving. They just won't do the job they ran on while you're starving. They're good people.
So this is probably one of the funniest consequences of Ocasio-Cortez making it into Congress. Cenk put so many resources into promoting her campaign when nobody was paying attention. They drafted her as a candidate. They put their people in to tell her what to say. She was a Young Turks listener, so she got her information and her ideas about politics from people like Cenk. And then when she won her primary, she blew up and she got so many calls for interviews and for media, got so many followers on social media that she didn't need Cenk. So Cenk is in the position that he criticizes politicians everywhere when Cenk couldn't get politicians on, or politicians that were nationally popular on, where he has to suck up to her in order to keep her on because she's outgrown the organization which she came from, which is the Young Turks and the Justice Democrats, which were an offshoot of the Young Turks and Secular Talk. Basically, Cenk created a monster that he completely lost control of. It's amazing to look at, and Jimmy Dore, to give him credit, is 100% right here. But instead of like a reflective moment on this is what happens when you're in media for a long time because media figures become more popular than news organizations, or the political figures or politicians become more popular than the original media that built them up, that there's no incentive for those political figures, those politicians, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to actually go back to these cheesy internet platforms when she can get way more attention and way more viewership on her own. This gives Ocasio-Cortez power over those news organizations, because if they want access to her, they have to play ball with her. This is the same exact corruption that Cenk Uygur talked about with other mainstream politicians and other mainstream news organizations, and it just goes to show you that that corruption is not something unique to big budget media. It's not unique to corporate media. It's something that happens whenever a politician outgrows the platform that you're on, because what they're getting from you completely is not in line with what they're giving to you by being on your show. The relationship between the Young Turks and the Squad has completely inverted, because any member of the Squad can get national attention immediately. The Young Turks have created a monster, and it's out of their control.
Why does Joe Manchin get everything he wants? Why is he, like, now people are wondering, is he the president? He took out $15 minimum wage almost single-handedly from this bill. Why? He said, I won't vote for the bill if it's in it. That's how you do politics. And people might find that uncomfortable. And if you're a good progressive and a good person, you might say, well, you know, that endangers people a little bit and it delays the bill a little bit, and he shouldn't do that. Okay, yes, but
Good people, if you're a good person, you don't want to do it because you're a good person.
So those people who didn't do stuff earlier, it's
because they're too good.
People.
It's because they're too good.
But how come they didn't write a good, well-written letter before? With all that goodness.
They're too good.
Again, and Jimmy's right here. Cenk Uygur is still going out of his way to kiss up to those people because of this reason. That's why in Cenk Uygur's video about how he's burning his bridges, he's not naming any of the people he's burning bridges with. He's not calling anybody out individually when they deserve to be called out. And the thing about how you think it's not being a good person to hold up political issues, that's only a problem when you create a society where every single piece of legislation is something that's going to definitely kill Americans. It's definitely going to destroy the whole country if you fight for anything. These are must-pass bills, and our whole society will crumble if you're the evil one to vote against it. And among all the political sides, progressives are the absolute worst at this, where they say, if you don't pass my policy, then this many people are going to die, this many people are going to be homeless, this many people are going to blah, 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 blah. So I understand why this tactic of pointing out how many people will die if you don't agree with them is great to beat progressives into submission.
I'll get to people who should deserve a tiny bit of credit and those that don't. But I need you to understand that this is meant to be constructive, and I will not just...
Please. I don't want anybody to get mad at me for pointing out politics, basic politics. Do you see him? Do you see how he is? Do you see how afraid he is? Oh, please, this is constructive. I'm not being a jerk like Jimmy Dore.
Now, again, there is a reason why I talk about this in terms of the chickens coming home to roost for Cenk Uygur, because there's not really that big of a policy disagreement between Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore. There's some tactics disagreements, but you can see why those tactic disagreements are present based on the way that Cenk is just bowing his head to the Squad. And the reason he's doing that is because he's afraid of them. That's why he keeps saying I'm being constructive. And Jimmy Dore's 100% right to laugh at them, because the Young Turks were backing Ocasio-Cortez when Jimmy Dore was going after her, and Ocasio-Cortez did what she always does and plays the victim and said Jimmy Dore was trying to agitate violence against her by trying to get her to vote a certain way on who's going to be Speaker of the House.
So if they said, hey, Cenk, look, there's a bunch of senators that are reluctant, and here is our battle plan for flipping them. Great, I'm all ears. I'm going to tell you guys to get excited. I'm going to tell you guys to be part of that plan, and I'm going to give credit to all the people.
I'm positive, Cenk. I'm good. I love everybody and good things. I'm not yelling at anyone, please. Please don't call me a sexist misogynist.
Look, this is about, in part, the Young Turks trying to maintain their connections to the Justice Democrats that won in order to do access journalism. However, it actually goes a bit further than that, because they propped up Ocasio-Cortez so much that she has way too much power in proportion to any bit of these individual media outlets. If Ocasio-Cortez says that you're threatening her, or you're making her uncomfortable, or you're a racist, or you're a sexist, all the other progressive media outlets, because they are afraid of her, because they built her up, this moody 30-year-old who has the maturity of a 5-year-old, to be this amazing, progressive, untouchable figure, when she targets you, everybody else gets on board because everybody else isn't a leader, they're followers. That's why they're progressives and they want the government to do everything for them. So Ocasio-Cortez is dangerous to somebody like Cenk. Cenk is afraid of her because if she turns on him, Cenk knows a bunch of other progressives are going to turn on him. And not progressives like Jimmy Dore, we're talking about the other mainstream progressives and the mainstream media, and that can really hurt your business model. The same way that the progressives all team up across all of these platforms, coordinate to cancel people on the right, they do that to the non-pure believers on the left. They cancel lefties for no reason all the time, and disagreeing with Ocasio-Cortez and making her feel a certain way is one of those non-reasons that the Young Turks is afraid of.
So when you have a must-pass bill like this COVID relief plan, you're not actually killing the bill if you vote no. Because what is Biden going to do? Drop it? He's not going to drop it. That's not a thing that's possible. You can't drop this. You can't drop the budget. You can't drop the defense bill. Okay, those are must-passes. So what you do is you force when you.
Oh, he almost said it. You forced. You almost said it.
No. When you force when you vote no.
When you force. Disconnect. When you vote no.
Honestly, that was worth the price of admission right there. The fact that Cenk almost said force the vote there goes to show you that Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore, their underlying thought processes and their premises are identical. The only difference is Cenk Uygur is afraid of the monsters that he's created. He knows the squad has more attention, a bigger platform than him. He knows losing access to these people will hurt him in the long run, and he knows that if any one of them decide to target him as a misogynist, a racist, or anything for any bit of criticism, and they're all moody people who love playing the victim, then the other members of the media, mainstream and progressive, are all going to follow suit and attack him because they're all afraid of being targeted by these progressives, by these Justice Democrats, by these people that they've propped up themselves in the same exact way, by that Twitter mob that all of these people wield.
What you do is you force, when you vote no, that forces them back to the negotiation.
What you do is you force. I just love that moment.
You know, I watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and sometimes, occasionally, especially in action or sci-fi or fantasy ones, one of the hero characters will say to a villain character or a character on the sidelines that there's a difference when you're fighting for something versus when you're fighting for nothing. And that is true. I do believe that. There are times that we have to focus on when people are actually fighting for something and honor that and respect that. And if we disagree with that, we put up the same amount of fight against it. However, sometimes fighting for nothing gets a bad rap because these guys are fighting over nothing because none of their ideas are going to be implemented. There's no way they're going to get the minimum wage through Kamala Harris. I mean, that bill already passed, but there's no way they're going to beg Kamala Harris to get the minimum wage according to Cenk's strategy, and there's no way that you're going to get the squad to do what you want to get a minimum wage in there. The fact is, the Democrats don't have any leverage on Joe Manchin in West Virginia because the Democrats would not have the Senate except for the fact that Joe Manchin, a Democrat, is uniquely popular in that state. He holds the Senate for them. Everybody wants to make fun of him on the far left. They say corporatist Joe Manchin. They try to primary him. It didn't work. He's the most popular politician in West Virginia history. And instead of spitting in his eye, instead of talking about how he's this bad guy for your side, maybe you should be thanking him because you wouldn't have the Senate without him. I know for a fact that I wish that Joe Manchin wasn't in the West Virginia. I wish the progressives were right and they somehow beat him in the primary because West Virginia is a red state and we would be able to stop almost all of Joe Biden's agenda with the majority in the Senate. But yeah, anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed watching it and making it and laughing at all the clips. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on social medias, the better Discourse too. Also in the description, I can't talk. Oh my god, till next time. Blech.